everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm your host, John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about 1977 Sorcerer and its brand new Criterion 4K Blu-ray that just came out. But before we get into that 4K Blu-ray review, I always like to give a quick film review, and today is no different. So if you don't want to know anything about Sorcerer and you're just here for the 4K Blu-ray review, you guys can skip ahead to that right now. So back in June of 1977, William Friedkin delivered to us another masterpiece in my opinion, but not a masterpiece at the time. No. This film was actually a huge failure for a lot of people at the time, including William Friedkin. It was a critical and commercial failure, just every which way you spin it. The budget of this movie was originally supposed to be about $2.5 million, but William Friedkin wanted to make his magnum opus, his masterpiece. Like, the film he really was building up to was this film. So the budget ballooned to almost $22 million. Both Paramount and Universal had to help finance the finishing of this film. Of course, it stars Roy Scheider, who in 1977 still probably riding the wave, pun intended, of Jaws. So that's your big name that could probably sell the movie, even though the rest of the film is filmed with, mostly unknown actors here in Hollywood at the time. Even people who were making their Hollywood debut, who were like looking forward to this being their big Hollywood break. And, it just didn't end up being that back in 1977. And a lot of that can be credited to also it being 1 month after Star Wars. You might think, what do you mean? Like, movies come out every week now. Why would Star Wars be a buzzsaw that took out everything that came after it? Well, it was a phenomenon. The theater business at the time was very different. Star Wars stays in the top of the box office forever because this movie had changed the film industry. This still feels very much like a 1970s William Friedkin film, which are, a different kind of paced film, not special effects heavy film, very much character studies, something that you have to really be behind. This isn't anything like what Star Wars was, and the film industry was changing, going through a huge box office shift, a huge just changing in how film audiences view films, and this one just unfortunately ran into a buzzsaw that kind of took the legs out right from underneath the film, as it probably should have been recognized for being a great film. Luckily, all these years later, people do recognize this movie as an all-time classic, up there with some of William Friedkin's best films. For me, William Friedkin is one of my favorite directors, mainly because he makes just very interesting films. He makes very challenging films. Even his mainstream films like The French Connection and The Exorcist, they're still challenging many, many years later. Those are not the types of films you watch as a child. I think that's why a lot of people, when they watch The Exorcist for the first time, they're like, oh, I laughed at The Exorcist. That's because you're not understanding the weight of The Exorcist and what the film is trying to tell you. You have to watch it when you're in the right state of mind, mainly in your adult life. You have to understand, been through adult situations, and then you can appreciate The Exorcist. And that's exactly what Sorcerer is like. We got four men who are absolutely desperate. They have no choice. Their lives are already ruined, and they just want some sense of, life back, any sort of life, because where they're living, is that really living? But it's that desperation of, hey, I still am a human being. I want to survive. All of these men, and we see it in the opening scenes. It's very similar to how William Friedkin opens The Exorcist, and that's challenging the viewer. I mean, like, if you're somebody who just walked into a theater in 1977 and you wanted to see something similar to like Star Wars at the time, and you walked into Sorcerer, and I don't think anyone speaks English for about like 10 or 15 minutes into the movie, and you have no idea who these characters are, you might be bored. And I think that's kind of what hurt the film at the time, is people weren't into the challenge of what this movie was about to be. Once we get all of our characters into the situation that they're going to be in with these two big semi-trucks, which are unbelievable, by the way. Again, just incredible filmmaking, which does look like it was horrible for everybody on the cast and crew, and supposedly it was. I mean, with the amount of rain that they had to deal with, again, this is kind of stuff that we don't get nowadays. You talk about another film in the 1970s, Apocalypse Now, went through a troubled production as well. Those kinds of films are challenging to everybody making the movie, and that's a big part of why we have movies made mostly, in movie studios again. We kind of shifted away from that in the 50s and 60s. That was a huge deal. Everything just got filmed on a movie studio right there on the back lot, and then things started to change. Jaws is big for this, filming on the water, but that's such a struggle for everybody making the movie. But I do believe that the art speaks for itself. The art speaks for itself in this film right here. It's one of the most beautiful looking films that I've ever seen. The score done done by Tangerine Dream is incredible. I love the score of this movie, even though it's a very reserved score and it's not used so much, but when it is used, it is powerful. It moves the scenes along. Like when the lights are lighting up on the truck and like you get that little sting in the score for each time, it's beautiful. One of the most beautiful looking shots in a beautiful looking film. Again, I can't stress enough how good this movie looks. It took 2 cinematographers to do it. You know, this is a movie that shouldn't have been a failure at the time, but it's just, that's what happens. Sometimes movies get reassessed. Unfortunately, a movie could just be a little bit ahead of its time, or it's of the time and it just wasn't recognized because the film industry was changing, and that's really what happened to Sorcerer here, because eventually it would get recognized for being a great film. Definitely one of William Friedkin's best films. Isn't my favorite William Friedkin film? No, I would still probably put this at number 4 because he has made some incredible films. I still have to put this behind The French Connection, The Exorcist, and for me, To Live and Die in L.A. is just another one of his masterpieces. But I understand when people would say, like, this is his best film, this is his magnum opus, this is the best film that William Friedkin ever made. I can get behind that. I understand that. It's definitely the best looking of any of his films, and everything everybody went through to make this film, it shows on the screen, and I think it speaks for itself. I mean, the way it ends, everything works so well for me. Again, it's a challenge for some people, but I definitely think it is worth the challenge, and I'm glad that Criterion is recognizing how important this film is and giving us the full 4K Blu-ray treatment that we're going to talk about right now.
Where am I going?
And here it is, Sorcerer on 4K Blu-ray, courtesy of the Criterion Collection. I'm really glad that they brought this to the 4K format. And I've always thought about this film being something that would translate perfectly to 4K. All the times I've ever seen this movie, I'm like, it's just one of the best looking films ever. Some of the most beautiful shots in film history. The colors, it's all going to look so great on 4K Blu-ray. So I couldn't wait. I had to have this. This was a day one pre-order when it up. I had to have this one. A second was released, and they released it in the Digibook as well. Not every Criterion movie gets the Digibook treatment. You know, the Digibook does have its flaws, though, as you can see. It's cardboard, so, you know, unfortunately, the corners, they're going to start to get weathered down, and you're going to see the white and everything. Over time, it's going to look worse and worse in comparison to the plastic, which covers everything up and keeps it nice and neat. And then when you come inside, again, beautiful artwork underneath. I'm going to fan this out so you guys can see everything here. Like, beautiful exterior artwork. The interior artwork is great as well. It is a 3-disc set. You get some reading material. Not that much, actually. It's a little bit low for the Criterion Collection, but still, this also folds out into something beautiful. So they really went all out with the packaging, Criterion. Again, just showing how much faith they had in this movie. The same kind of faith that movie studios showed in the film in 1977 that, unfortunately, they didn't recoup their money on. But again, this movie's recognized as a classic now, and this is exactly the kind of treatment it deserves. They even give us some brand new extras, and actually, I think it's just really one brand new interview or 2 brand new interviews, which is awesome, by the way, because one of them is like a conversation between Sean Fennessy and James Gray. Sean Fennessy, a fellow Long Islander like myself, but, you know, he hit the big time. He works for The Ringer, and, you know, I listen to his podcast, The Big Picture, and he's also usually a guest on The Rewatchables, so I've been a big fan of him for a very long time, and to see him sitting there with, you know, a great filmmaker in James Gray, I love that interview segment. I thought it was great. There's also a great hour and 47-minute documentary on William Friedkin in this 4K Blu-ray. Love that. I love that, you know, that's why you have the 3rd disc, is for that hour and 47-minute documentary, which is a Blu-ray disc, by the way. The 4K only has the film on it. You have a separate Blu-ray disc for all the special features, and then that other Blu-ray disc is just, you know, the same exact scan that you have on the 4K, just now on Blu-ray with everything that's on the 4K Blu-ray. It's just those 2 discs are strictly for the film. Then you get this 2018 documentary on that Blu-ray, this interview, a couple other archival interviews as well, and a very short making of the time, like looking at really just one scene in New Jersey, and that's really it. It might seem a little bit low for like Criterion because sometimes they have these huge lists of extras, but really you're there for that hour and 47-minute documentary, which again isn't new, but it is an awesome documentary. William Friedkin always is a great interview. He's just somebody, you know, he's gonna speak his mind, and that's always interesting for the viewer, and I always appreciate that. So you're gonna get plenty of that if you're into William Friedkin talking about, you know, what he's into and you know, what really gets him up in the morning. Definitely gonna want to check out that documentary and everything else that's on here as well. So as an extras junkie, I was very, very happy. Now the audio tracks are not new. You get a 5.1 and a 2.0. Both of them have been around since, I believe, 2013, and they are fine. The 5.1 is how I chose to watch it. You know, makes pretty good use of all the channels, you know, of the 5 channels that we have available and the sub, but it's nothing that's going to blow you away. It's still very good. This does have, obviously, some big action sequences, has an iconic score in there as well. You're going to want to make sure all that comes in loud and clear. It sure does. all the dialogue, no issues whatsoever. Just don't expect anything that's world class, mainly because this is now about an 11-year-old audio track for both of them. So, you know, nothing too spectacular. You're really here for that visual upgrade because you do get Dolby Vision and HDR10. For me, the movie actually looked different than I've ever remembered the film looking. Now, I've never owned this on home video ever, DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, anything. I've never owned it. I've only seen this ever on streaming or on TV or anything like that. So unfortunately, I have nothing to compare it to personally. I can only go by like what other people have said about it in comparison, but it definitely looked a little bit different, like especially like in the third act. I felt like some of the colors were a little bit more muted than I remember, but then again, it's also clearer than I've ever seen it. Like you can see every little raindrop in the New Jersey sequence with Roy Scheider, like on the that blue car, like absolutely incredible. And we have some incredible close-ups in here on people's faces, and you know, these guys are obviously dirty and disgusting playing around in the rain and mud there, and like, you know, you're gonna see every little bit of detail now. So even if like the color timing might be a little bit different, and I can see that upsetting some people, because I know with Criterion I have complained in the past about them changing color timing on certain movies and essentially ruining my experience for it because it's not the movie I remember seeing. This is a time where the changes, you know, overall I think have fix some things, but also it looks different than I remember. But I can't argue with like the results because again, it looks just crystal clear. The colors in the jungle look absolutely incredible. So maybe you had to sacrifice something to end up with the results here, and in my opinion, the results are phenomenal. Again, there is some flaws in there still. It's just I've never seen this movie look that good. But again, I personally don't have anything to compare it to, so of course this is going to look the best to me. I mean, I'm watching it on an OLED TV with Dolby Vision. It's just the best possible experience. It's just, you know, the color timing looks a little bit off to me, but I cannot say, like, for sure what the full intention is just because I don't have any other home media release to compare it to. So for me, it is by far the best this movie has ever looked. And again, it's one of the best shot films ever, in my opinion. A staple of the 1970s that deserved an upgrade like this, and I'm really glad it got it. I can highly recommend this one. You know, we got the Barnes & Noble 50% off sale coming up pretty damn soon. I'm here on June 27th. You might want to add this one to your cart then, because I'm going to give this 4K Blu-ray a score of 8.5 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. And that's going to do it here for me, guys, on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could, and if you want to bump it up to the channel memberships, you can do that as well. We got the Friends of the Channel tier where you'll get all of the episodes when I'm done filming them. They'll be uploaded, and you'll be able to check them out pretty early. Or you can even become a channel producer like John Doe Juggalo and Ben Rondo and get your names added to our physical media giveaway each and every single month. Or you can become a channel director like Nicholas Head, Kevin Kruger, Uncle V, and Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, and have your choice review each and every single month. Or you can become a channel bankroll member like Mr. Smelly Potato, which really does help me out. And of course, not only do you get everything else, but you also have your choice video every other month. So I want to thank all my channel members. Been getting some new ones. Appreciate you guys. Without you, I couldn't be bringing you all these reviews. So thank you guys all so much. And guys, of course, if you got no money to throw away, I don't mind at all. I just hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.